So in my opinion, if you're going to do a monologue in general in your song, you need to be very careful, because it can very quickly turn into like self-righteous or self-indulgent, corny territory. You got to make sure that what you're saying is very impactful, very meaningful, and has a place. This ain't it. I'm just going to be straight up. On its face, this is just super cringe millennial writing. This is generic junk. You see this in all sorts of millennial writing, millennial stories, young adult novels, things like that, like Divergent and the Hunger Games and all of that crap that was popular when I was younger. I'm a younger millennial, but the older millennials now are in their 40s, and this is the type of stuff that they were just like inundated with, and it's the type of stuff that they write, and it's always kind of the same. There's like some ambiguous conflict with like an all-powerful enemy, yet the enemy also has no power at all. Your power is completely hollow. You've just fooled the masses into thinking that you have power, and then we have all of the power, but we're also like the resistance and the rebellion who are the underdogs. And you just see this all the time. And this monologue here, it's like exactly that. It is not a twist on it. It isn't deeper than those types of stories that we've seen. It is just cringe millennial crap as far as I'm concerned. And I think that lines like that, like the power is ours, like we have the real power, it's us, it's just super corny. It is. It's just super, super corny, super lame. Now that's me just kind of talking about this monologue on its face. And I do just want to address something real quick. I am well aware that this monologue is very likely about Trump. She's been very open about this in the interviews, and about a lot of the songs. I know that like Who Will You Follow, and I think About Us is actually the most directly like about Trump, she specifically said. So she's been very open about that. So I do think it's important to maybe address the political angle real quick. Hold on, give me one moment. Let me take some water. Yeah. Okay. Regardless of your political leanings, this is still a very immature view of conflict and power in the real world. So let's just assume it's all metaphorical for the political state of our real world, which I think is actually more accurate than, it being some fantasy world or whatever. This view of, the political spectrum and political conflict, this is like the view that you have when you're 19 and you don't really understand worldviews properly, and you don't understand like underlying philosophy that influences people's worldviews and creates their morals and values. As you get older, you are supposed to understand that everyone on the planet basically has a different worldview, like unique to them. There are people who are similar, but there's always like little differences when you start to nail it down. And part of living in the world is you have to live with people you have to understand these other worldviews and learn to live with them and accept them. Now you don't have to like them for sure, but this idea of like, oh, there's just nebulous conflict. There's just good and evil. There's us, we're the good guys, and them, they're just the bad guys. There are bad people in the world for sure. There are objectively bad people. But when we look at political disagreements, I think that this type of writing, this type of like what this monologue kind of how it explains it, like it's just this, there's the illusion of power, these evil brainwashed slaves, they're evil and we're the good guys and we have all the power. It's like it's a childlike view of it. It's a young adult novel. It's, because as you get older, you learn that your beliefs need to have strong moral arguments behind them, philosophical reasoning behind them. And then what you find is that a lot of your opponents or the people that you disagree with have the same. And this is true on both sides. Like there are very intelligent people who have strong logic and reasoning supporting their arguments. And so regardless of which side you're on, your enemies are very rarely helpless or powerless. They're typically, they have power of their own. They have lots of people who agree with them, and they have a philosophy or a belief system backing their worldview, which you need to contend with in order to change their mind or anybody else's mind. That's actually how you change someone's mind or influence them, is to understand their worldview and then point out the discrepancies and the inconsistencies, and then you can kind of go from there, right? If they're willing to change the worldview, right? Which a lot of people aren't, regardless of how much you try to reason with them. But what I would say is that this sort of childish framing, it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't offer anything. It's just this kind of generic empowerment message that feeds the egos of cringy millennials. I see this all the time with millennials. They just, we're the resistance, we're the power. And it's like, they just don't, these are typically just people who don't want to intellectually engage with people who disagree with them. That's almost universally what this type of messaging is, and what it, and the audience that it is appealing to.